Okay, here we go with Symbiosis 2099's review of Deluxe Armada Toy Blurr. This is a figure that I think has several flaws, unfortunately, because I really wanted to like him. I mean, he's still not terrible. Let me just pull his mini-con off here. You can see from the top here that he looks pretty neat. He's got this whole Cybertronian vehicle mode. I mean, he looks like he could just fly. And as a matter of fact, that's one of his gimmicks. You plug his mini-con in back here. He goes right in this little hole in the back. And you gotta have him up off the table. And these wings fold out. And he's got this flying car gimmick going on. And I think it looks pretty neat. These little, they look kind of like turbines or something like that. And, you know, he's not bad looking at all. And some of the details, he's got this yellow, clearish plastic for his windows and his windshield. And it's also on his headlights, and they've actually molded in the actual headlights under this clear plastic. He's got some stripes, and the way this fades in and out is really cool, right? He's about your average size for a deluxe figure. Here's Energon Hotshot deluxe class figure, and they're about the same size. And let's take a look at his mini-con. Incinerator. It's like a little Formula 1 race car of sorts. And as far as mini-cons go, I don't like this one. I think that, I mean, you can see a fist, a robot fist hanging off right here. And to transform him, you just flip his legs down from up here. They just flip right down. Turn him over, and his arm pegs in right here. And be very careful, because I've broken many mini-cons pulling tabs and pegs out of holes. But slides down, and just slide his other arm down. And yes, this is his other arm, which is why that's a big fault that I have with him, is that his arm is just this big piece of a race car. It doesn't even look like a gun from either side or anything. It's clearly just a big chunk of race car. And to transform him back, you just fold that piece back. It's a mini-con, it's not that complicated. Peg his arm back in up here. Fold his legs back around. And there you go. Back to Blurr. In Transformers Armada, Scavenger apparently asked Blurr to come along and help with the fight against the Decepticons for the mini-cons, and Blurr came along, and he was kind of an asshole to everybody. And he eventually just fit in and became one of the team over time, but he didn't do anything massively spectacular except save one mini-con, this one. But let's transform him. And the first thing I like to do is this, and get these guns out of the way. And these guns have a bad habit of falling off whenever you plug his mini-con in, because they're just barely held in. This is one of his many flaws, by this little peg right here that fits into this hole on the bottom of the weapon. And they come off rather easily. It just comes right off. Anyway, you take and fold, hold on, pull this part down and pull his legs out. They should just pull right out. Take his feet and fold them out from right here, and there's two parts of them. There's another little part right here that folds out. Fold this part down, and then you separate at the back right here, fold it down, fold these pieces down. And then take and move these pieces right here up. And then just separate his arms out. And they just snap right into place on his sides. And there you have Blurr. And from the front, he don't look too bad. I mean, he's a pretty decent display piece if you're just going to set him up on a shelf and never take him down. Several problems I have with him is, for one, he's got a lot of junk hanging out back here. hangs right off, and it makes him a little back heavy, and he sometimes does have problems. He'll just tip right over. I mean, that says it right there. But he can stand, but not in very many positions. Anything else? I mean, he can't bend very well. He doesn't bend at the knees at all. He's articulated here at his hips, and he's got, like right below his hip, he has another joint. It's a ball joint, so he can move pretty much all around on it. But his arms move up and down like so, and he's got sort of a double joint going on at his elbows, so you can do that, or you can just have it all the way out. His head moves, but it's on mine, the joint is really tight. His gimmick back here still works in robot form, and you can actually just clip it together like that, but I don't think he looks as good. I mean, then he just actually looks like he just has a piece of a car on his back, but his gimmick still works. His wings will still flop out, and I think it kind of looks, from the front, it just looks like he's wearing a cape or something, which is cool. Another major flaw that he has, his hands are useless for grasping anything. For example, the Skyboom shield. He cannot hold it. Can you imagine how humiliating it would be for him to come back to Optimus Prime? Oh, Optimus, I had the Skyboom shield within my grasp. I almost had it away from the Decepticons. Well, what happened, Blurr? Well, I couldn't grab it because my useless hands would not allow me to do so. One thing that he can hold, and he doesn't even hold it, is his guns. And they have a peg that pegs into this big hole right here. His guns have a gimmick built into them also, but look, he has trouble holding his gun up, and that's pathetic. But his guns have a gimmick, they fire. You had to plug a freaking minicon into it, which makes it even more heavy, so you could never possibly display him like that, unless you just wanted him to stand like so. But with a lot of effort, you can push the minicon forward and fire the missile. I don't see why they just didn't make it a push button mechanism like it is on most other guns, but they didn't. Another flaw with this figure, he has light piping, but you could never tell because they didn't actually put any open spaces back here in the back of his head for the light to filter through. And they could have just painted his head. They could have just detailed it with paint. But instead they put some useless light piping that doesn't even work. Like, I'm pretty sure if a light was to shine in from his head right here, and you might think that's his light piping working, but that's just the way the light is reflecting off of his visor right there. That's not his light piping coming into play. If light could shine in through right here, it might work, but I doubt it. He's got some good detail, like he's got some screws and such right here, and it's asymmetrical, which I think is cool. Like, he's only got one big red one right here. Big Autobot symbol, just random painted parts. These parts right here look really good. They're kind of a shiny red paint. I mean, his paint scheme works. Here he is standing next to Armada Wheeljack, and as you can see, Wheeljack towers over him by at least an inch, possibly even more. I mean, here he is next to Energon Hotshot. Energon Hotshot is even taller than Blurr is. You again? Jesus. Let's just transform back. And to do that, go ahead and close this up. Close his feet up. Make sure you get the little part in first, or the big part won't fit. And push him up. Wait, fold his little crotch flap up first. Push his feet up, and they push right up in. Now, take and fold his arms forward. And take his arms right here and make sure they're kind of like so. And they tab together. And the parts of his car parts right here, make sure they're all the way down. And then fold the main part of his body all the way around. And he should just clip right in and fold these parts up. And there you have him. There is Transformers Armada Blurr. Overall, I'll give the figure a 5, which I could give him more than that, but just the flaws. For pure looks, just the way he looks gives a 6, but the flaws in the way he's made takes him down to a 5. But thanks for watching, and I'll have another review up soon. I think I'm going to do Armada Wheeljack next. See you next time.